showing up closer to I-20 this afternoon. We've been kind of watching these storms throughout the day, and they finally kind of taking that next step up here where they have starting to produce maybe some wind damage, perhaps some large hail with them. We're looking again north of I-20, north of Newton to Decatur. Have locations down here, of course, Newton County, Lauderdale County, Kemper County, and Neshoba County. Kind of a cluster of thunderstorms here that we are tracking as of the 3 o'clock hour. These all kind of drifting from sort of the northeast back northwest back toward the southeast. And you can kind of see a little bit of a boundary here coming northward. If you look really closely, right there, pretty close to I-20, little boundary moving northward. That little ripple could from time to time kick out and kind of enhance some of these storms, trying to allow them to produce perhaps some strong wind gusts. So that's the hope, not the case, but certainly we're going to have some of these storms that are somewhat heavier because of that potential. Again, as we'll kind of zoom things in, we'll check our hail tracker, our True Shield hail tracker, showing the hail pretty limited at this point. Not a lot of large hail potential kind of on the latest scans of this. I'm going to make this a slightly longer loop here at 1 hour. And instead, we'll go three-dimensionally on this, look at the 3D version of these storms, kind of see what they're capable of. These are not super tall. And so these would be what we would call, if they produce severe weather, we'll call pulse severe storms. The idea that much like a pulse, you know, from your heart that just for a brief moment, you know, beats and then repeats and repeats, that these can pulse up briefly and just as briefly collapse going through that. So they typically don't sustain themselves for long periods of time. And so you get, when you get wind damage, things of that nature, it tends to be pretty isolated and over a shorter period. Let's come back 2D here. And we're looking there close to Decatur, obviously where those storms are fairly heavy at this time. I put it right there, kind of the middle part of your screen. Go back over, actually, let's leave that in wind mode here for a moment. Make that a 1 hour loop. And you can see how those reds kind of enhanced a little bit. Reds indicating away from the radar site there in the Jackson area. The fact you have this boundary kind of working its way northward as you get the collision of that, that'll probably continue that toward the meridian there and continue to kind of keep it heavier as it works its way toward the east. So let's get a speed on this. I would put it about 20, maybe 23 miles per hour on that speed. We'll go back over the rainfall mode to make sure we got the heaviest part there. I think that's actually probably picked up a little bit. I'm going to go 25 miles per hour. Heading eastward, let's go and extend that track just a little bit. So we're going to go slightly wider on that. And we're going to expand it out maybe just a little bit and then expand it ahead. So you can see some folks there in advance of that, kind of on the latest thoughts here. Blount's store at 3:41. Current time is 3:33. We're looking at Lebanon there at about 3:43. Hookston at about 4:15. Nelsville about 4:17 or so. Center Hill about 4:21. But Good Hope near you at this time. And looking at our severe threats, which kind of boils it down to everything one level, we don't have a lot of hail on this being depicted on the latest. It did, when this warning was issued, about 3:23, looked a little more impressive there than it does right now. Not a ton of lightning strikes out of this storm or the storms that we have down here today. Let's go ahead and check a couple different ways. Let's double check, make sure. It looks like my Facebook, looks like everything triggered. So I'll double check here one more time. I might need to, apparently we have an issue with one of our channels here. So let's go ahead and remove one of these channels. Give me just a second because that has affected our Facebook stream for one reason or another. Oh, this is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on the fly. Give me a moment here. We're having an issue on our Facebook stream. So let's see if toggle them all off. If instead we manually toggle these on, if that will make a difference. Hey Emily, I need you to let me know if if something's changed on that. I apologize there. For folks at home while I figure this out. This is maybe taking me a little bit Let's see if that's going to start working. Boy, this screen is going all over the place. Okay, yeah, let me know if that is behaving a little better, Emily. And we'll go from there. Apologize for that. Occasionally, the social medias do what the social medias do. It says sending data, but I'm not sure if that's working correctly on there. Hey, Emily, I need to hear from you. Hey, Penny, go get your mother, please. Okay, I apologize for that. Let's come up here toward Herbert Springs. This one here kind of moving eastward. Hey, I need more information. If you send that, I need to then double check and tell me if it's back on there again. Is it on there or not? Okay, I appreciate that. Go ahead and track this eastward, about 25, 26 miles per hour there. This other storm here with the kind of cluster of lightning strikes on that. We're looking at about 338 there, Rio, Klondike 354, 356 there in Prismatic, Blackwater at 404, about 405 there in Daleville. Some large, a lot of lightning strikes, heavy rainfall, probably some damaging gusting winds, possibility out of that storm there. It does look like Facebook is back up and paying attention. Well, it said it was working. Now it says it's back offline again. Let's check again. Okay, that looks like that is working and good. Okay. Apologize for that. You designed all the work, but there's an issue with the people that relay our stream there, and for one reason or another, it did not initially take the streams online. So we're back, and we should be all good on all the different social media types there as well. Appreciate that, Emily. Hey, Emily, will you bring me the walkie-talkies just in case I need you? I know we got walkie-talkies because even though we broadcast like this, it's easier to communicate across the house with the newsroom on the other side of the house with walkie-talkies. Okay, I'll take that one. You turn it on, and then you hit the black button at the top. Okay. Sometimes low tech and new tech work well together. Okay, let's reset things here for just a moment. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Loppon. You're watching Mississippi Live, 24/7 streaming service here in Mississippi. What we have in the northern part of the state, none of these storms are overly strong to severe. No real impacts there of concerns out of those, but we do have a few thunderstorms that could potentially try to produce some damaging wind in particular. Hail, not an impossibility, though we've had no reports yet of damaging hail or anything along those lines out of these storms. I'm going to check our chat with the folks there at the National Weather Service in Jackson, and just kind of looking through this. Still some questions as to exactly what this is capable of, but does not look here like they're convinced on hail by any stretch, and there have been no official reports. Of course, if you are getting some reports of active or severe weather there, drop those in the chat. You can see that there next to me as we kind of had to reset things a moment ago there. Someone's asking, is Emily doing news every day at 5? Right now, news is going to be Monday through Friday. At some point, it'll be 7 days. But right now, it's Monday through Friday, 5, 6, 9, 10, and we're going to have updates in the morning show as well. So slightly different news in each of those. It's going to be a lot. But anyway, that's how news is going to work in the short term here. Appreciate you guys all for watching, for your support here of us here on Mississippi Live. And if you're watching us on socials and you haven't picked up our app, probably easiest way to do that is again using the QR codes that you see there on the screen to kind of stay ahead of any issues there. So wide shot, and then we'll bring it back in because we know that more folks have kind of come online the last couple minutes. The northern part of the state, we do not have any issues. Central, South Mississippi, there are more issues, including these severe thunderstorm warnings we do have here just east of Jackson, covered by some of the people that can watch us on Max South broadband. And so that is what this coverage in particular is for. The rest of us in the northern part of the state, we do not have severe thunderstorms there. Honestly, you look at the northern half here and look at lightning strikes. We show about 60 lightning strikes over the entire, what's shown up on the screen there versus south, it's more, but not as extreme as maybe when we've had some severe weather recently, and a couple of clusters in particular that we're looking at for that. Give me a moment to kind of drag something behind the screen to make it just a little bit larger so I can see it slightly better. Okay, so let's look three-dimensionally on these. We always kind of go back to the 3D radar because it allows us to see if these things are really tall, and sometimes you can identify the early changers this way. Make this a 1 hour loop here. And by that, I mean, when they poke up high, you've heard the, the tall, what goes up must come down. And so we look for kind of the higher tops on these. We know that they have a better chance to collapse and possibly produce severe weather it goes through that. So I've shown a couple occasions there, a few of these that are somewhat taller, but none that are super duper impressive in that regard. Honestly, the one there that's just kind of near meridians, honestly, probably one of the tallest that we have at this time. I'm going to kind of hit a slice of this, and then we'll drag it through the whole line here. Actually, let's go ahead and try that one more time. We'll do it slightly different. I'm going to just kind of drag it all the way across. Oops, forgot to click the right thing. Apologize for that. Apparently it's a Sunday here as well. There we are. There's a good slice. And so as we slice through that, the reason we're doing that, looking kind of like a CAT scan, looking up at the loft to see if we can see some extra hail aloft. And when this gets up about this level here, right? About 20,000 feet, you start to see the the brighter pinks up that high. That's when we know probably have some hail sitting up there. In this whole line, I don't have that. So I don't really see much that concerns me as far as hail, as we're talking about that, based on kind of what that section there looked. I want to compare that to the storm that does not have a warning, that's back here a little closer to meridian, because I think that'll give us kind of a good idea kind of what it could look like, because that has, see that? If you go up into this, 20,000 feet up there, we do have probably a little bit of hail. At the very least, it's really heavy precipitation. As that hits the ground, that's where some of those stronger wind gusts can come in. So really kind of a couple different factors we're looking at. Most of what I see here does not look like much of a hail threat. It does still have some wind potential, but I'll be honest, despite the fact that, again, northern Lauderdale County, parts of Kemper, Neshoba, and of course Newton counties under those severe thunderstorm warnings till 4:15 and 4:30 respectively there. Most of what I see here is probably below severe limits, probably 35, 45, maybe 50 mile per hour winds. But the fact it's kind of organizing a little bit, that is, where we start to get somewhat concerned. So tracking that again toward Duffy and Klondike, pretty much now for those locations there. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings there, Lauderdale, Newton County, as we've talked about, parts of Neshoba County as well, and looking at Martin about 346, Fellowship 350, Center Ridge about 352, track toward Blackwater at about 354 there, Collinsville 353. It'll take a little while before it gets there to Meehan there at about 402, 407, Obadiah, Pine Springs at 407. Let's see if we can extend that a little farther out. To do that, we'll have to kind of drop the city size a little bit. So we show Meridian, if it were to make it there, look about 431. Of course, you have some storms right over top of you that we kind of tracked a moment ago there that are a little bit closer. We have a couple cameras down here that we can kind of look at these with. Let's pull up our camera there in Forest. And let me get my bearings on this one. So, and that's just looking kind of toward the clear sky. So I'm going to have to kind of peel that one around. Give me a moment to do that. And we'll probably come back to that here in a minute. There are a couple other cameras down here that we can reference, though. Ah, here we go. Well, see, this is an example of a different storm. I'm going to come north and show this one real quick, because this is too good to pass up for what some of these look like. This is an example when we start talking about like what kind of a downburst might look like. This is an example of one of those here. So this is a shot from, we're a couple minutes past where it hit, from West Point there, of the rain kind of slamming down. My thumbnail there wasn't updated. So give me a second to walk back in this, because this is, we use our DVR capability on our North Mississippi Storm Chaser camera here. Browser. pull this up. Okay. So as we go back a few minutes on this camera here in West Point, this is 3:40, so 5 minutes ago, and you can see the heavy precipitation, you know, coming down on that, just kind of like the wall of rain that sort of came down on that. So that's where, you know, as that stuff comes crashing down to the ground like that, you get the strong gusty winds that can happen there. Anytime you kind of see it sort of curl out in front like that, that's a good example of that. It looks like I double clicked that. So that's a pretty cool shot there. I'm gonna, if you give me 2 seconds here, I'm going to select timeline, and I'm gonna do a little export on that, and we'll probably put that on social media there as well. Pretty cool shot there of the export selected. And let's do a time lapse. We're just gonna export that. We'll come back to that here in a minute. Let's reset here things for a moment. Once again, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live. Again, we are a 24/7 streaming service based out of the Tupelo, Mississippi area. Our camera there with Fastnet and West Point, the one that we are looking at showing the heavy rainfall there close by that location. Non-severe, and comparing, just kind of looking at sort of all the reds and the way this all looks up here toward West Point, you can see it's a lot less impressive than what we have down farther south. And so this is our severe thunderstorm warnings that have been prompted there, and gusty winds possible, maybe a little bit of hail on that one storm there closer to Meridian, but most of these, I think, again, below severe limits outside of here that we are to the wind mode here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, and they're pretty right in the middle where my mouse is. There is where that's kind of the strongest at this time. But even then, we start looking at our severe threats. It's not depicting, luckily, any wind shear, any rotation, anything like that. That's what the reds indicate there. This is just going to be a lot of heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, 50 to 60 miles per hour, but most of this should hopefully stay more limited on the intensity. But certainly if you know someone who's crossing along I-20 there, maybe driving right into that, you know, again, it's been a big travel weekend with the 4th of July. Certainly concerns that go along with that. Checking in behind the scenes with the folks at the National Weather Service Jackson, not seeing any sort of changes there. So that's a good sign, and hopefully an indication of where things are going forward. Let's check out our camera in Carthage. And there'll be a couple cameras here that we'll try to check out. You can see, looking back into some of those storms. Let's slide over to Philadelphia. Give me a second. It'll take me a minute to kind of pull some of these different ones up. See if we catch these just right. So this is shot here from our camera there in Philadelphia, looking back towards some of those storms. Rain cooled to 79. That's nice. But again, that's one of those stronger thunderstorms there as well. You can see the heavy rainfall obviously associated with this, and certainly some gusty winds a possibility as well. Let's bring up our chat for you know, where you guys can interact with us. One way in which you can, of course, help us do what we do is let us know what you guys are seeing. You kind of see I'm looking at multiple cameras there in the background as we kind of, oops, apologize for that. I popped the wrong button on that. There we go. Watching in Louisville there, of course, we're watching some storms for you in Louisville, but those are below severe limits. What is Starkville going to get today? Ora wants to know, you know, there will be some gusty winds from time to time out of these storms, but most of these are probably going to be below severe levels, hopefully. Let's see what else. Watching in Tupelo. Hey, listen, I think, again, the worst is going to be south, and nice to see your Heine Bo up there. Glad that you're tuning in and watching with us here on Mississippi Live on Facebook and all the other places where you can watch us. So Philadelphia, again, that's closer to the action down there. Kind of widen it out. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing there. Give me a moment to bring everything back. So Philadelphia, again, you guys have been canceled out of the severe thunderstorm warning up here in Neshoba County, or that'll expire, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, you're basically out of that at this point. The rest of Lauderdale County, though, has been added into a severe thunderstorm warning until 4:45. Looking at those storms again going eastward there, and you can again kind of see some of the times on that. Okay, we typically only cover North Mississippi, but I will take 2 seconds to catch a camper out there in Cherokee, Alabama. Our friends at Tennessee Valley Weather, again, do a great job up for these locations. So we a lot of times let them kind of take care of it. But I know, again, we got some folks that might be out here. These storms are below severe limits. The wind is not particularly impressive on these. So I'll just take a couple seconds here to look at it. But they've kind of popped up, lightning, heavy rainfall. That's enough if you're in a camper that's not something you want to really deal with. But this, I would say, at most, if this were to strengthen more, 40-mile-per-hour winds, that's enough to rock a camper and be an issue. But that's kind of moving northeastward. I'll track kind of the that batch there, and then we'll slide back south, kind of cover more of what we're dealing with, but about 20, 23 miles per hour. So we show Stewartville there at about 353. New Hope there about 4 o'clock. Sheffield at 4:02. So a lot of folks there in and around kind of the Florence area on that track as well. But that kind of moving northeastward. Kind of summarize what we have most throughout here, the northern part of the state. Most of these storms are, again, way below severe limits. I mean, you can just use the eyeball test on this for a moment. Clearly, your eyes are kind of drawn, not just because of the yellow boxes, just more red down here. These storms a little stronger, farther north, more limited. But for most of us, we're not going to see severe weather today, thankfully. Someone wants to prescribe some slow and steady rain. I would like to hear. I would like to see. I think that would be excellent. I do see that we have at least one severe weather report that came in. Let's check out that latest one in the last couple minutes here. That was a storm night, where we had some damage there near the Philadelphia area. With thunderstorms very, very early today as well. But majority of noon, I'd say, impacted if somebody will have this. And we need to kind of enhance that, is that there's a little boundary. Watch right there. There's a little green line. Ready? Right there. These are going to try to develop along that, especially on the northern half of Meridian. And that's what's going to probably continue to enhance the potential. We get some damaging winds and maybe a few hailstones